edition of Cracking the Cryptic on a day when I know Mark has been at Wimbledon, the lucky thing. So maybe some of you spotted him there. I'm not sure which courts he was watching, but he was definitely there. Anyway, I'm at home, but that's great because that means I get to do some Sudoku, and I'm having a go at a puzzle by Blobz today called Domino Trails 3. I'm afraid to say I don't know what happened to Domino Trails 1 and 2, but I can tell you a thing or two about Domino Trails 3 because I've looked it up on Logic Masters Germany. It's been recommended to us, and the testers have looked at it and they said it was great. And Logic Masters Germany seems to agree. It has a 100% approval rating, which is very hard to achieve with the slightly easier puzzles. And this puzzle has 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, so it's not as monstrous as some. And I have read the rules, and it's a very interesting rule set. I've never seen a puzzle with this rule set before. It reminds me a bit of the logic problem Cave. I think it's called Cave. I think it's had different names. I think in the US Puzzle Championship it used to be called Corral or Corral. No, Corral. But yeah, it reminds me a bit of that. And we're going to have a go at this in a moment or two's time. I've got one birthday to do today, and I want to say a very happy birthday to Savannah. Savannah, your boyfriend Ethan wrote to us and said that you've been watching the channel every day for a year, every evening. And Savannah, thank you very much for doing that, and I hope you have an absolutely brilliant birthday today with lots of cake properly ratioed in terms of its icing content, of course. The only other thing to mention is our Patreon, where with 2 things. We've got the Sudoku hunt for July, Kraken The Cryptic, which we certainly recommend. We're getting loads and loads of entries every day for that, and lots of good comments. So I think anybody would enjoy that if you've got some time to spend on those 6 Sudokus. And we've also released Mark's crossword video, where he attempts, I think it's June's monthly club special from the Times, and that in my opinion is a very special video. So if you have any interest in cryptic crossword solving of the highest caliber, do check that out. And that's all. I can hear Maverick has taken off, which means it must be puzzle solving time. So why don't I read you the rules to Domino Trails 3 by Blobz, and we can have a go at the puzzle together. Sorry, Maverick, it looks like it's a particularly low fly past now, so that's going to make a lot of noise. And that is literally, well, not literally, but it's about 100 feet from my window. The rules are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so that means the digits 1 to 9 in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box, once each. And then we have to shade some cells, brackets the hedges, such that the unshaded cells, brackets the trails, form an orthogonally connected area, brackets with no loops, where no 2x2 group of cells is either fully shaded or unshaded. Now, when I was first reading the rules to this, I immediately thought, oh, this sounds like yin-yang, but it's not yin-yang, because it then says different parts of the trail may touch diagonally, brackets, so checkerboard patterns are allowed. Note that hedges do not need to connect to the edge of the grid. So I think in normal yin-yang what happens is we have basically two coloured areas that are orthogonally connected, and therefore every cell of one colour has to connect orthogonally to every other cell. Here the hedges can sort of form islands in the grid, is how I understand the rules. So there is no requirement for just two areas effectively. There is one area of there's one area of trails. There's one area of trails, but the hedges can be distinct and non-contiguous. So it is a different rule set to that which we're used to. Now, once we've drawn the trails in, we then are told the trails are completely tiled with non-overlapping dominoes. Cage cells are always trail cells and indicate two things. A, the digit placed in the cage shows how many trail cells, including itself, can be seen orthogonally from that position, where hedges obstruct the view. So let's make this cell a 7. We know this is a trail cell. We don't know the direction of the domino that this 11 clue relates to. Sorry, I should probably complete reading the rules. The small clue in the corner of the cage shows the total sum of the corresponding domino, and not all dominoes are marked with a cage. So this 7, it's got to have a 4 next to it in one of those cells, because the domino that corresponds with this 11 can't overlap with the domino that corresponds to this 15. But the 7 itself, and this is what I wanted to get to, is saying how many trail cells are seen from this position. So that is 7, isn't it? Let's say that that's the trail. I think, yeah, no, that's impossible, because that's going to have to be part of the trail as well, because that's part of a domino. So I think it could be perhaps this pattern. Oh no, this is also in. I'm going to have to delete that one. Let's plonk that one in instead. Or I wanted to, yeah, I can plonk that one in instead. This 7 now does see 7, including itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But that would mean these cells would have to be hedges. That would have to be a hedge. And then this clue, I think, would work. And we would know nothing. I don't think we know anything about these white cells, but I guess if we were in this position, we have to avoid 2 by 2s, so we could do something like that and that, so it would be massively powerful, and it's broken. Broken it. My example is broken, because the 15 cannot form a domino. So yes, ignore this example. I was trying to show you how I thought that the rules would work, but unfortunately Blobz's cunning has outwitted my my ham-fisted attempt at drawing an example. But hopefully that gave you an idea of how the puzzle might work. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is I am going to mark every single cage as a trail cell. So that means we choose a colour, probably light green, do you think? I know that the hedges are more likely to be green. Oh, that's true, isn't it? Maybe I could do... No, yellow and green is, I think, bad for colour blindness. I'm going to do light green for the trail, and I'm going to do either black or grey, I think, for the hedges, just to try and keep things as distinct while neutral as possible. Now, I can see something immediately here. This 16 clue, well, the dominoes are non-overlapping, so each cage corresponds to its own domino, so that must be a domino, and therefore, and it must add to 16, so it must be a 7-9 pair, and we've got to avoid a checkerboard, avoid a 2 by 2, so that cell becomes hedge, I want to say. Now I've got something better than that, because a 4 domino, and this must be the 4 domino now, must be a 1-3 pair, and this square needs to say how many cells are seen by this cell. Now it's definitely not 1, because all 3 of those are seen, so that must be 3. That must be 1, and this 3 must be obeyed, so that must be hedge. So this is a domino, this is a domino, and this 9 is no, right, hang on. Now we can lose the 7 or the 9 in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's got to come at least down to there. And that's as far as it goes, in fact, because I've suddenly realised that those 2 are now necessarily hedges to avoid 2 by 2s. Now, ordinarily, if this was yin-yang, we would immediately try and get this out to connect to its friends in grey, but that's not the rule in this puzzle. So I think this 9 could cut this off and leave it isolated in the middle of the grid. I think. But this is 7 in the corner now, not 3, unfortunately. So that's 7, that's 9. I like this so far. It's not too tricky, but it's quite cool. Oh no, hang on. I ought to pay this more respect than I was about to, Because of course this digit is at least 5 now, isn't it? Because it sees 5 cells. Ah, so it's 5, 6 or 8. Now I can see actually it can't be 8. Because if it was 8, it would have to... Oh no, it can be 8. I'm wrong. Sorry, I was miscounting it. 5, 6, 7, 8 would work, wouldn't it? And that would make this a 4. So it probably is 8. If it's 6, then this has to be shaded, but this would be unshaded. Yeah, sorry, this would be green. Green. This would be path, this would be hedge, if this is 6. But that's not going to work. Let me show you why. It's a little bit more complicated. So this is if this is 6. The reason this doesn't work is that this cell needs to be part of a domino. So it would be part of this domino, and this would have to be a 3 to make it add up to 9. And that won't work. So I don't think this can be 6. Now if it's 5, we have to shade this one in, because we already see the 5, and this cell would be a 4. And that might be possible, I don't know. It's interesting as well. If this is 8, and we shade all of these in, then the 1 that the 8 would need to make a total of 9 couldn't be in that cell. So it would have to go down here, and this would be a 14 domino. So it's quite interesting. So you get a lot of information whenever you manage to fill one of these or even restrict one of these caged cells. Here's another thing I've just thought of. A caged cell can never contain a 1, can it? Because a 1, if this was a 1, it would be the only cell it would see, and it would be immediately surrounded by hedges, and it would be a very strange place indeed. Okay, maybe we start there then. I think what I might do is try and pick off cages that, well, yeah, there you go. That's got to be 7 or 9 because it's part of a domino that adds to 16. That's why this has got to be 8 or 9. It's part of a domino that adds to 17. That has got to be a part. Oh, there we go. That's got to be a 2 because it must be part of a 1-2 pair. In fact, look at this. Look at this. Where's this getting its 1 from? It must be getting its 1 from here. And not only that, this is a 2. So this becomes path or trail. And now this 2 cannot see any other green cell in any orthogonal direction. So we get to put loads of hedges in. Yeah, okay. And the 15 now, because this is effectively a domino. That's a domino. The 15 must take that cell to create its domino, which means that becomes hedged to avoid a 2 by 2. This domino is either a 6-9 or a 7-8 pair, and that cell's not 9, so this cell's not 6. Okay. That was nearly a flurry of activity, wasn't it? I can see this is quite a big number, but it looks like it has the opportunity to be quite a big number. It can see quite a lot of green cells in both directions if it wants to. This 8 maybe then. That's... well, it might be a 9, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That cell has to be green. That is classic Corral logic, or cave logic. Because this is at least 8, even if it sees these two, and even if it sees as many as it can in its column, it can only see 5. So it must see 3 more in its row, which forces this to always be green. Which means this 7 is now seeing at least 4 cells, so that's got to be 4, 5, or 6. That might be interesting. What about the 6 actually? Because bearing in mind it can't have a 1 in it, that's got to be a 2, 4 or a 5. If it's a 2... No, that's lovely. It can't be a 2. Good grief. That's weird. That is so strange and surprising and beautiful to me. If this is a 2, how does it work? Because it's already seen. It's totally quorate on the number of green cells it's seen, so it must be cul-de-saced there. And if it's cul-de-saced, this is part of its domino, which it cannot be, and we have a paradox. For those of you who solved the New York Times crossword today, paradox is an interesting word. But anyway, paradox. That was a spoiler. Whoops. Anyway, this can't be a 2. So this square here is a 4 or a 5. Now, therefore, it's got to go with a 1 or a 2. And if it goes that way, it would have to be a 2. Because it couldn't be a 1. Oh, okay. How about, can I prove that cell's green? Maybe. If that cell is not green, how does this achieve its total? Because it could only take, yeah, it can't. You can immediately see this if you sort of think about how you're going to balance these two clues out. Now, if this is 8, which is the least it could be, but this is hedge, we could put one of the 8 here, which means this needs to see at least 7 horizontally, but that's going to mean this is a 7, which it clearly cannot be. 7 or higher. So that has to be green. Now if that's green, I've now seen at least... Right, and now that fixes this square. Because if this was now green, this 6 would see 6 cells. So that must be hedge, which means this square... so it's less good in that we don't know yet whether this is 4 or 5, but we do know that this is its domino. Which sort of feels like it might matter. So if this is 5, this is 1, but then this would have to be green. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have possibly achieved balance already, actually. If this is 4, these two squares have to be shaded. And that would have to be 8, because we'd have to shade, green this. Oh, that's avoided 2 by 2. We can do that with that cell. What does that mean? It might mean something. I'm just not sure. This is a domino. We can have checkerboarding, so I can't immediately green this. I'm in yin yang mode too much. It's not helping me here. What about that cell then? That's also got to be a fairly hefty total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. Right, so there has to be a break in the path. It's not possible both of those are green, because that's going to make this clue too high. So there's got to be a break in one of those two cells. So if the break was allowed this to be as big as it could be in this direction, this could be the hedge, and that would be green. But that means that we're still only picking up 2 cells of green as a maximum for this clue. So there must be 5 cells of green in this column. And even if I pick that one up, that means all of those would still be green. So I always do get to connect these two up, that feels important. Now that square's got to be shaded to avoid it 2 by 2. Therefore, what is that doing to this clue? So this is now at least a 5. And it's part of a domino that adds to 12. maybe we should pencil mark it. So it's 5, 7, 8 or 9. It can't be 6 because it would have a 6 connected to it, and that would break the rules of Sudoku. Can this be 9? If it's 9, how would that look? Nine would look like that would force this square to be shaded, I think, and we'd have to have all of these squares. Actually, maybe 9. No, I might be wrong about that. Maybe that could be unshaded as well, and then I just have 7 in this column. Right, okay, so this, I'm not quite there yet still. There's more thinking to be done here to understand what on earth's going on. Maybe I could, by Sudoku. I was just wondering whether Sudoku would help me. I can't put 1 in the cage, can I? So 1 is in one of 2 places in that box, aka box 2. If this is, what's the 14? Ah, that's an interesting thought, actually. So the 14 is going to be 5, 9 or 6, 8. So it's got to see at least, oh, it does already see 5 cells. I was going to say it has to see at least 5, and it does. But if this was 8 or 9, we'd be coming out here with green. Not that that might be a problem. Is there a reason this can't be a 4? It would... Oh, there is. Ah, right. Golly, golly, gosh. I didn't foresee this coming. Right, if this is an 8, the problem with this is that these 3 are now green. Now, this has to be a 4 now, because it sees 4 and it can't be a 5-0 domino. So it's a 4... and it sees all of its 4. So those squares all have to be hedge. And if all of those are hedge, what's this digit to make the domino? It's a 1 and it clashes. That's beautiful, isn't it? That's really clever. So that's got to be 5, and that allows us to shade that in because we've done the 5, and this is now... Oh, this is massive. This is a 4 to make the 9 domino, but that's a 5 now, which goes with a 1. And this needs to see 5. And because it's sort of it's in an alleyway, we can immediately shade in its total length. Now this has got to be shaded to avoid a 2x2. This, well, yeah, okay. This cell has to be part of the 14, and it's now a 6-8 pair because this is a 5. So this is 6 or 8. Now this only... Oh, okay, that's annoying. Well, it sees 6 at the moment is what I've noticed. So this could be shaded. Or if it sees 8, it would be these 2 would have to come into the green world. I'm not sure. Okay, so this is 5 now for this clue. So this clue is seeing 8 as it stands. This 13 is in an alleyway. Ah, okay, so there is a balancing exercise to be performed between these 2 clues, isn't there? What do I mean by that? Well, this clue is obviously seeing some number of green cells horizontally, but however many it sees, this must be a higher number than this clue, because this needs to see something vertical to prevent the Sudoku rules being broken. What do I mean by this? Well, imagine this was a 4. It cannot be a 4, because now this has to be a 4 as well, because we can't extend this anymore, and it sees 4 already. So this has to be higher than this clue. And that, therefore, because this is in a 13 domino, this has to be 4 or 5. And the domino we know is to there, isn't it? So that's an 8, 9. This is beautiful. This is an 8, 9 pair, therefore this is a 7. Therefore this is not a 7. This is already seeing 6, so it's not seeing many more. And this is allowed to see... Well, this has got to have some verticality to it, this 7 clue. So if this is 5, we take one of these. Could it be 4 and 6? Yeah, I think it could. 4, 9, 8. Yeah, that would be okay, I think. Right, so what do we learn from this trickery? Has that somehow done something to this clue that I can't really... Oh, goodness me, yes, it has, of course. I've got to get... Right, with these puzzles, you have to get used to thinking about cul-de-sacs, because if this is 5, it sees it's 5, doesn't it? So these will both be hedge. But to make the 12 clue work, that will be a 7 and it will clash. So that cannot be 5. So this is a big number now. This is at least 8. Which means, again, this has to come out this way. Because this clue needs to see something in this direction that this cannot see. They're both going to see the same total of greens in this column. Maximum of 7. So to get to 8, this is going to have to be in. But we don't... The weird thing about that is you don't know whether this is part of the 12 domino or not. It would be very useful if you did, because then you could rule out 8, 4. Okay. So we know we're seeing... Now this clue is up to 4, 5, 6, 7. But we know there's one... No, do we know there's one more to come in here? Or is that not true? I'm not sure, actually. That might be wrong, because this could be green. Ah! Okay. Do we know, for example... Does this clue have to be part of the 17? Yes, I'm going to claim. Because if this wasn't part of the 17, it would be part of a horizontal domino to there. But then the 17 would get its final piece here, and that would be a 2 by 2 of green. So this is an 8, 9 pair. That's strange, isn't it? Which means this square is a 6. That's going to be useful, because now this 6 clue is finished. That means this is a cul-de-sac. Or not a cul-de-sac, but that needs to be shaded in. That's so weird. It doesn't actually do anything. Beyond that, I don't think. So now in this column, we need 2, 4, and 7. So the 7 is placed. The 7 has to go there. And this has to be a 2, 4 pair. And therefore these squares have to be a 6, 8 pair. No, it doesn't quite fix this one. This is the one I want to fix, I think. How are we going to do that? Oh, no. I thought I could do it by Sudoku. That was not true. 1, 2, 3, and 9. This is a 1 by Sudoku. So this is 2, 3, 9. Right, so how could this be? This can't be 9. It's in an 8 cage. So this is 2 or 3. And it needs to be part of a domino. So it could be the part of that square, couldn't it? If it took that square... Well, we don't know. Yeah, okay. If it did take this square, it would see 3. And this would have to be the 5 that would accompany it. If it takes this square... like that. No, then it would have to be a 2, 6 pair, and it would be cul-de-saced, because it couldn't take this square as well. without also taking this square and making the clue a 4. Right, okay, so what are these digits at the bottom? 4, 5 and 7. Which means these squares are 2, 3 and 6, which does actually afford the opportunity for something in the corner. I mean, none of these can be dominoed now, can they? Because any domino in these 3 squares has to join up with another cell and make a 2 by 2 of green. So all of those are hedged. Now, I have a feeling I'm meant to know what this is. I just don't quite get how to do that. Or could I know this is a domino. This is a 13 cage, so it's got to have at least, it's got to see at least 4 cells, because the minimum digit we could put into this cell would be a 4. But we don't know whether it's vertical or horizontal or some blend of the two, do we? At least I don't think I know that. Do I know what this... No, I don't. This doesn't feel like the point at which, you know, the puzzle might reveal things to me. This square is at least a 3, I've suddenly noticed. Couldn't be this one, could it? These squares are both part of 5 dominoes, and that neither cell can be a 1 by the sort of principle we established earlier. So these squares are from 2, 3 and 4. But they could reach into different places, so they could be from the same set. They could be a 2, 3 pair. And these squares would then be different. Right. Not sure where to look, to be honest. Is this obvious? It probably is, I suspect. I'm just not quite sure how to do it. Can we... This is 4 or 5. Is there some way... If this is 5, this is definitely 4. We know this is seeing 8. Oh, is that impossible? Hang on. Hang on. That's clever if that's true. So if this is 5, I can see this is 4, 9, 8. And that... No, that's fine. That's fine, because this needs to see one more in one of those directions. And this 8 is complete. I thought for a moment that it wasn't going to balance, but it does balance. It does balance. So that is not how we're going to resolve this. Oh. Hang on, I see. This is 8. Oh, I've got it. Right, no, I've been very slow. I apologise. Look, this 7 has to see a 9, doesn't it? Which places the 8 here. Which means this needs a 4, which it can't get from there. Can it get from here, though? Well... Okay, let's think about this. This must be, I feel like this must be important, because that's a very simple step that I've missed. I know this square, this is now a 2 by 2, so we've got to avoid it. This must be part of the 11 domino, because it can't be part of the 8 domino. So the 8 is either picking up a 4 from here or here, but I don't think I know which one. This is a domino that adds to 11 that's not 4, 7 or 3, 8. So it's 2, 9, which it's oh, that's weird. It's not 2, 9. If this was 2, 9, the 2 would have to go here in a cell, saying it's only seeing 2 greens, but it's seeing 3 greens. So this is a 5, 6 pair. Oh, and that's beautiful for this, is it? Yes, this is that's now preventing the 8 domino coming into this square. Because if this is a domino, This has to be a 5 or a 6, and it can't be. So this must be a vertical domino, which means this must be grey to avoid a 2 by 2. And now this cannot be a 5, so that has to be a 2. That's absolutely gorgeous. Now that's no longer an 8, so that's no longer a 7. This 5 is a 2. Well, we know that's 2, 3 or 4. We've sort of studied that at length, haven't we? We've got loads of Sudoku we could deign to do. This is a 139 triple. And we can't put 1 in that thing. Can that really be 9? Can it see 9? I suppose it might be able to. I'm not sure, actually. Maybe that could be 9. 3 is a much more difficult number for it to achieve. It couldn't then take this square if it was a 3. And yeah, we don't know. This could, no, that can't be part of a domino, can it? Because this is a domino. So if this was a domino, that would be a domino. We'd have a 2 by 2. So that square is grey. And this one already sees 2. But this is not part of its domino, so it can't be a 2. It must be at least a 3. So it looks like it might want to be a 4-1 domino to me. That would work quite well, wouldn't it? If it was a 3, it would have to see a 2. And then okay, that could work as well. If it's a 4, it needs to see both of those squares. I can't. I think a 4 is difficult. I think a 4 causes a 2 by 2, doesn't it? If this is 4, we know it needs a 1, and that 1 has to be there. So that has to be the domino. But this isn't seeing 4 at the moment, which forces this to be green, and that needs to be part of a domino. So it would have to form a 2 by 2. So that has to be 3. Which means it doesn't go into a 1. It means we don't know what this is. We don't know what whether this is green or not yet, because this could be a green 2. We do know by Sudoku that that is a 3, which I don't think, is that doing anything clever? This is not a 3 anymore. And okay, there's definitely a 2. I suppose I can pencil mark that in one of those 2 squares. We've got to, if it's there, we've got to be careful. We'd have to get, that would also be green then, because we'd have an isolated string of path that needs to connect to the rest of the grid. But if this is the 2, I think we're okay. That would then be shaded. That would probably be green. Okay, right, let's take stock. Have we actually advanced this much further than we had? We've got a bit further. There's a 5 in one of these squares by Sudoku. There's a 6 in one of these squares. Now, the 6 in one of these squares is not in the 6 in the 12 gauge, because that's going to be a problem with a double 6 scenario. This needs to see 5 or 6 cells. Oh, whoopsie. Okay, look. This is already seeing 5, so it can't take that cell, or it would see 7. So that's got to be shaded. So now this is in a cul-de-sac. It can't be a 9, can it? That would be so cool if that was a 9. It would virtually finish the puzzle, I think. No, it can't be a 9, because that will break the 7. That would also have to be a 9, wouldn't it? So this is a 3. So this needs to have a 7 attaching to it. But I don't know whether it's there or there. But it can only, well, okay, but it's only going to reach 3 cells vertically now, this clue. I can't see how to do it though. I don't know whether it goes there, and that would make this square interesting. Gosh, okay, still stuck. Now, but do we know whether this is complete now? If this stops, this would be shaded. If this is 6, this is unshaded, and that would be shaded. Ah. Didn't it say there were no loops? Yes, it did. Right. So I'm going to claim, because that's a domino, that can't be a domino, because that would create a loop of green. And that means this square is shaded. I don't think it does tell us whether this one is shaded or not. Ah, but hang on. Now this is bounded. No, it sees 2 there, so we know it sees 6 vertically. And if it sees 6 vertically, this 7 is made up of a 6 vertical string and that cell, which is its 7th, so that's shaded. Now this 8 must get a domino from somewhere, which is going to be there. Avoid a 2 by 2 in the corner. This square is we've proved it's a 3 without actually needing that 1 and 2. It just sees 3 automatically, which means that's a 5. It means these become a 2-4 pair, which is not what I was thinking. This is a 6 now by Sudoku. This is a 5, which is now finished. It sees 5, so that becomes shaded. This getting shaded means to see 6, that is forced to be path, and that must be the 4 then, because it's got to be part of a domino. It's going to bump into the 12, so that's not a 4. Not a 4. This 4 is doing some work, which is going to place the 2 in this box, which we know the 3 needs to get, so that is unshaded. This now sees 3, so that's shaded. This 4th thing doesn't reach green, so that's unshaded. If either of these were shaded, unshaded, whatever the right word is, if either of these were green, they would form a 2 by 2, because this needs to be part of a domino. And whichever domino it took, another domino here would create a 2 by 2. So both of those get that treatment. Now this needs to add up to 11, and it's got to be 5, 6, hasn't it? That's going to be great, because that means this square is 7, this square is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that works. And this sees 5, so that also works. So 5 and 6 go in. That becomes a 5. We know this is lower, so that becomes 4 now. 4 must add up with 9 to make 13, so that's 8, that's 9. This isn't 5 in the centre of the grid anymore. Oh, look, 5 in the middle box we can just get by Sudoku. Outrageous being made to do Sudoku in this puzzle so early. That's 9, that's 1. Okay, so this is great. This is part of a domino, but that's an unmarked domino. We don't know anything about that domino. Right, and that's got to be the 9. I was wondering about whether that was an isolated cell, but that becomes a 9. 9, no. I thought maybe we could do Sudoku again. 5, 6, that's a naked single. That's got to be, it can't be 5 or 6, so it must be 9. That gives us a 5, 6 pair here. So this is 5, this is 6. These squares are 4, 8 and 9. So the 9 goes in the middle. These are a 4, 8 pair. This is a 1, 7 pair. Okay. So this, do we need that to continue or not? Depends whether this is green, doesn't it? If that was shaded, then this little area here has to get out to connect to its friends, and we need to make this square green, which would force this clue to be a 4, not a 2. But one of these clues is a 2, and therefore is essentially cul-de-saced. But it could be this one. Oh no, it can't be this one. No, this needs to grow, because it needs to... This is the 3, 5. In fact, I have been thinking about this. It might have been sensible to do this as I was creating dominoes, look. you can suddenly see that the dominoes are becoming much clearer as I do this. Yeah, this is what I should have done. Look, and that's just immediately given me this one, 7, which must now be green. This needs to see 3, so that's got to be green, and then this gets cul-de-saced. This needs to see 5, but it's not allowed to see more than 4 horizontally. Oh, this is funny actually, isn't it? The way it's suddenly giving me lots of stuff. Now this being 4 now needs a 1, which we know is green. It sees it's 4, so that becomes shaded. This is 2. There's a 2 here by Sudoku. This is not 5 or 4, so that's 7. This is 5. These 2 squares, there's a 1 in this row somewhere. It's got to be there. That's got to be a 6. The bottom row, oh, we've still got this 3 in the corner possibility. It is a 3 in the corner because the 3 has to be up here in box 8, so that's a 6. And that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. 1, 2, and 6 in this column. So the 1 in column 9 can only go here. This square's a 6, this square's a 2, this square's an 8. That's an 8 by Sudoku. That's an 8, that's a 4. We might be able to do the puzzle actually and then try and fill in the dominoes from there. We've got 3, 4, and 7 into these squares. So that's a 4, 3, 7 combination. That's 7, that's 1. This column needs a 6. This is not 2. Ah, no. I want to take 2 out of both of those squares. These squares are 4 and 7, which we can put in. And these squares are 9 and something. 9 and 3. Oh, deadly pattern. Okay, hopefully that will get resolved by dominoage in a moment, because that's a bit terrifying. And this box needs 4, 2, 4, and 8. So the 8 goes here, and this is a 2, 4 combination. So okay, so this has got a 4 in it, which feels useful, and this has got a 6 in it. Okay, so this 6 is going to have to take some vertical stuff, because the 4 is preventing us just going across to get the 6 count for this clue. The most we could take horizontally is 4, isn't it? So this 6 needs to get 2 vertically, which means this is one of them, which means it will always connect there. So that's a domino, and it adds up to 13. Let's actually do the domino so we know. Now this needs to be part of a domino, and that must connect to the 12 therefore. We've got 2 2x2s to avoid. This 4 clue, oh, so it's the 6 clue that finishes it off now, because the 6 clue needs to take this clue as green. And now this 2 clue is finished, so that becomes done, that becomes out. And we need, yeah, and now the 3, 9 deadly pattern gets resolved by the fact that this domino needs to add up to 5. That is, what a beautiful final step. Wow, that's so impressive. That's so impressive. Now, of course, what I must do now is to domino my grid fully. Boom, boom. And this is the naughty domino that was unmarked. I think there was only one unmarked domino. Now, the other thing we should do is just check. Let's go colours. I just want to check that looks like an orthogonally connected area. It is. And we didn't have to connect the hedges up, so it doesn't matter that they are not. What a brilliant puzzle, Blobz. I loved that. That was absolutely excellent. Very unusual. And you had to keep track of a few different things. And yeah, it was just a very lovely combination, and the introduction of the domino idea really changed the logic, and you know, it wasn't just a sort of a normal cave Sudoku hybrid. Loved it, really cool. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Kraken the Cryptic.